Nobody Plans on Dying has officially launched their nonprofit organization that is geared towards bringing awareness to this fentanyl overdose epidemic in the hopes of breaking cycles and saving lives. Join us in the premiere of the first documentary, June 21st, at the Digital Gym Cinema. Our goal is to bring this into every school to educate our youth and provide intervention services and resources that are so badly needed. Come support this mission. Gather in fellowship in the lobby following the documentary. Food, merchandise will be available. As a community, we can break the cycle by working together towards this common goal. If you have any teenagers, grab them a ticket and bring them out. If you've known anyone that lost their life to an overdose, then consider purchasing a ticket for yourself and making a small donation that could really make a difference. We are stronger together as a community to break these cycles and turn tragedy into purpose. Go visit the website nobodyplansondying.com to purchase your ticket and make a donation today. Hey everyone, I want to take a moment to talk about something really important: mental health and addiction. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health or drug addiction, especially if they're facing chronic relapses or have a history of bouncing in and out of treatment centers, I want to recommend Baja Rehab. Baja is a premier lockdown treatment center located just 45 minutes from the San Diego border in beautiful Mexico. I've had the opportunity to visit their facility, and I can tell you firsthand, it's not only stunning, but also equipped with everything needed for recovery. They offer comprehensive medical detox and have a dedicated team of drug counselors and specialized therapists. If you are ready to take the first step towards healing, call Shalom, the intake director, at 619-855-6368. That's 619-855-6368. Your loved ones deserve a second chance, so don't wait until it's too late. Reach out to Baja Rehab today. This is the Fuck Fentanyl guy letting you know if you or a loved one is injured in a motorcycle accident, then call 1-800-Lawtigers for a free case evaluation. We are available 24/7. That's 1-800-Lawtigers, with over $1.5 billion recovered in verdicts and settlements. Nobody got your back more than Lawtigers.
I'm leaping over 1,000 fences and running like a child in open fields. I'm leaving comfort to chase your presence. That wind I felt before I wanna feel. I'm not bound to boxes. Since the fire of the Holy Ghost got a hold of me, this wild freedom, nothing can stop it.
Yeah. Boxes, Kim Walker Smith. Nice. Going hardcore Christian this week.
Right?
Fuck yeah. My name's Lisa Romero. I'm the Fuck Fentanyl guy. This is the Fuck Fentanyl podcast. I have my friend Leila here.
Hi, guys.
Hey. This is awesome. I've been wanting to do this one for a minute.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yes. I know you guys wrapped up the Nobody Plans on Dying.
Yes, we wrapped up our documentary.
And now it's going to be released.
Yep, we're getting ready to release it June 21st at Digital Gym Cinema downtown.
Nice.
Yeah, super excited about it.
Yes. Is there tickets still available?
There are tickets still available. We're about, I think, 75% sold out.
Yeah, it's going quick.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to purchase tickets, you can hop on nobodyplansondying.com, and they're available under products or events.
Oh, heck yeah. Hell yeah. Well, Leila, I've heard your story a few times, and it was quite a lot. And I know you've been through so much stuff, but do you want to just elaborate where you grew up and all that?
Sure. So I grew up in Temecula.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, grew up in Temecula. I lived in Hawaii the first few years of my life. And then when I was around 4 years old, I moved out to Temecula.
Oh, nice.
And I stayed in Temecula through my teenage years.
Oh, okay.
And then once my teenage years hit, I was kind of out and about. I was on my own at age 13. So I was kind of traveling around. I was out in Palm Springs for a bit, Hollywood for a bit, Santa Cruz for a bit. and then landed in Encinitas.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Did you just run away or?
No. So my addiction kicked off pretty early in life. So I grew up in a home where alcoholism was really prevalent.
Yeah.
So I was allowed to drink at age 5 at like holiday parties, functions, things like that. And then by the time I was age 9, I had started to develop alcoholism myself, and knowing that, alcohol could be a coping skill for me.
Right.
And I endured kind of just a little bit of a rough childhood. My mom did the best she could, but, there was just some things in that area of my life, that were toxic, and, just various childhood traumas I went through.
Right. It stayed with you.
Yeah. So I started drinking alcohol pretty early in life, and then it progressed to marijuana at like age 13, and then started to go into other things. And by that point in time, I was just really defiant towards my mom, and she just basically kicked me out.
Oh, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And then that's when you're going to different towns and different cities.
Yeah, I stayed in Temecula for a bit, and I tried to push myself to graduate high school through high school. So I actually got my own apartment at a pretty young age. And
really?
Yeah, I had my first apartment at age 15.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I kind of like couch surfed for 2 years in Temecula, just with, I lived with my ex-stepdad for a bit, and then I would just stay with random friends that I was in school with until their parents were like, okay, why is this kid still at our house? And then at that point, I would find another place to go to. Yeah. And, but I got my own apartment at age 15, and I was working my first job at My Buddy's Pizza. Oh. And then I would go to high school, and then I would get off and I would go to beauty school. Oh, okay. And then I would get off that and I would go to My Buddy's Pizza to work. Wow. So that's when my addiction to meth really kicked off. Yeah. Because I was having to do a lot in my personal
I was like, you're a go-getter.
Yeah.
So young.
Yeah. So I was doing a lot in my personal life, and then I would try to find time to party.
Oh, right. Yeah, you need to make time for that. That's very important. Yeah. Wow, shit. And so you had your own place. Was that like the party house and stuff like that? Or
it was. Yeah. It was a party house. My high school sweetheart was in a band. Oh, cool. And the band, they were like heavy metal band. Oh, really? Yeah. Their name was Kettle Cadaver. Oh, yeah. And they actually toured with Cannibal Corpse.
Whoa, no shit.
Yeah. So
that's fucking rad.
Yeah, it was cool. We would go to like a lot of shows in like Hollywood, Whiskey A Go Go.
Yeah.
Things like that. So I was a little goth girl in the metal scene back then.
Really?
Yeah, it was a fun time.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Wow. And so after you graduated high school then? I
graduated high school, and then my apartment actually got raided. Oh. So the people, my high school sweetheart and our other roommate, they weren't even really into drugs. But we just had people over partying a lot. Right. And then I was doing drugs kind of just on my own. Mm-hmm. And so police ended up raiding our apartment because it was just a party house. Yeah. And when they raided it, they found mushrooms and meth in my room. Oh. So I ended up getting charges for that. Yeah. And then we ended up getting evicted from the apartment. Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Wow. And were you still a minor when this was going?
I was still a minor. Oh. Yep. I was about 16 years old. So they didn't take me to juvie or anything. Oh? No, they just charged me for it. Uh-huh. And then actually this is when I started to learn loopholes in the legal system. Yeah, for sure. Because I went from having that case in Riverside, and then I ended up moving to San Diego. So then they had to they had to transfer it down there. Oh, I see. And I caught onto that loophole, and then I had them transfer it back to Riverside County by moving back up there. So like I was just kind of delaying the process. And
until you turned 18?
Yeah, I did that for 2 years, but I had to go to court right before I turned 18.
Oh, okay. They were not playing after that.
No.
They saw it.
Yeah, they saw through that. So, but in between that time, I moved in with I met my biological father. Oh, okay. During that time.
Wow. When you're 16 years old?
At 16, yes. Shit. Met my biological father, and that was quite a crazy era in my life. My biological father was a drug dealer. He sold a lot of mostly meth. Okay. And he lived in Encinitas. Okay. So I lived with him probably about a year and a half, 2 years.
Wow.
And that was just a crazy period in my life where I was
Absolutely.
just exposed to a lot of like cartels,
No
violence,
Yeah.
rape. I got held hostage at gunpoint
Oh,
a
God.
couple times for like extended periods of time over drug deals that went bad with my dad
Oh, fuck.
from like cartel members and stuff.
They
So
held you hostage?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
fuck, dude.
yeah. They held me hostage. So that was pretty crazy
Yeah.
period in my time. And I started to go through a lot of trauma, and just it really built up everything I was going through, to the point where I got suicidal
Right,
because
absolutely.
of all the trauma that I was
Yeah.
going through. And it was interesting because I had a court date for this juvie case, and my dad was going to take me to it. And I had been up for probably 5 or 6 days before court, and I was like, I need to sleep. So I decided to take a roofie with one of my girlfriends. So we took these roofies together, and that night I ended up getting raped the night before court. And so it was pretty traumatizing. And then I woke up the next day, and that was just when everything kind of barreled out of control for me. And my dad was trying to get me up for court, and I wouldn't wake up. So he slapped me to wake me up. And that was like the only time my dad had ever hit me.
Right.
But I was just like, I woke up and I was just like, God, I just wanted to end my life. So I reached for a syringe, filled it up with rubbing alcohol,
Oh.
and I injected it.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and then I remember I had one of those old clocks that had like the second hand that goes around.
I remember those.
Yeah, so I was watching the second hand tick, and I was just like waiting to see if I would die. And like 2 minutes went by, I didn't die, so I filled it up again with rubbing alcohol, and I shot another syringe of rubbing alcohol.
God,
And then I waited like 30 seconds watching the clock, and I was like, this isn't working.
Yeah.
So I went over and I grabbed a bucket of bleach or a jug of bleach, and I filled the syringe up, and I started injecting the bleach. And I was about 50 cc's through the bleach, and one of my homeboys busted in the door and saw me there like crying with the bleach between my knees, and he knew what was going on, and he just flew across the room and ripped the rig out of my arm.
Fuck.
Yeah, so I went to court anyways like that.
You didn't go to the hospital?
I didn't.
ER? Or?
I don't remember if I think I told my dad in the car,
Yeah.
and he didn't believe me, or I don't know what he thought. I think he thought I was trying to get out of going to court.
Yeah, right. Make an excuse.
Making up a lie. And I just remember like all my motor skills started shutting down.
Yeah.
And I started looking in the mirror, and like my eyelids were swelling up, and my face was swelling up.
Oh, my God.
And I was just like getting really messed up. And we had to drive from Encinitas to Riverside with me like that, to the Riverside courthouse.
And an hour and a half?
Or no. Sorry. Cancel that. We drove to Meadowlark because I had gotten it transferred.
Oh,
so we were
there.
We were at Meadowlark.
Oh, my God.
And I remember walking up to the courthouse, and my dad sped like 30 feet in front of me, probably to tell the bailiffs what was going on.
Yeah.
And then I started to pass. I just remember seeing like 10 bailiffs running toward me, and I passed out.
Wow.
And I woke up 4 days later from a mini coma in Juvenile Hall Hospital.
Oh, my God. Wow. I can't believe that. Shit, man. It's a miracle you didn't go blind or like
I know.
stayed alive. And that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
God
that's,
had a purpose for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is before you turned 18?
Yep. I turned 18 2 weeks later.
Oh, my God.
And that was the first moment of clarity I had in my life. It was my first, like, spiritual awakening where I finally came to the decision, like, I want to be clean. So I didn't know how at that time.
Sure, absolutely.
I didn't know anything about I knew a little bit about Narcotics Anonymous, but I didn't really know too much about anything.
Yeah.
So I just thought that I could cold turkey and stay clean at my dad's house.
Oh. Yeah.
So that lasted about 5 days.
That's 5 days is good.
5 days, but I had people just smoking and shooting all around
Right,
me.
of course they are.
I was just like, I got this. And I was,
of
no, I
course.
don't have this.
Of course. we've all been there at least once.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened after that?
So after that, my life just progressed on a downward spiral. I basically wasn't at my dad's too much longer. His place got raided and everything got shut down, that house. So I just kind of was traveling around, and I just went through, years of, I started to get incarcerated more and more.
You're in an adult system now.
Yeah, I was in the adult system. And plus all those years at my dad's, I had learned, so much criminal activity and, like advanced criminal activity. So I was just doing all kinds of everything. And then I started to get hooked up with domestically violent men, I guess you would, or abusive men.
Right.
So that was kind of my pattern. And that was just, I think that stemmed from my childhood, that those were just the kind of men I was drawn to, because I had a mixed concept of like love, hate, which is just what I grew up in. Like, I thought that was love, being abused. So I would seek
would you
that
know
out.
that they were like abusive and still want, or was it just came out later?
In hindsight, I think a lot of times that I would egg them on to abuse me.
I see.
As sick as that sounds.
Oh, I know exactly.
I would pick fights and
antagonize it.
Yeah,
instigate.
Instigate. I think that too. I was just a strong woman by nature.
Right.
So I think that men saw that, and they would want to take that away from me a lot.
Felt intimidated.
Yeah, they would want to take that away from me, and then it would just create this dynamic back and forth. So I would just constantly get myself in relationships like that, where men were trying to take away my dominant nature.
Sure.
And then I would snap back, and we would just be like fighting for dominance in our relationships. And that was like my concept
instead of
of
mutual love and respect.
Yes.
Yeah. I understand that. Oh God. And so that pretty much carried on.
Yeah.
All your addiction, just that same pattern.
Carried on throughout my addiction. I had periods where, so I'm a polysubstance abuser. So I basically, abuse anything I can.
Yeah.
So I've definitely, I had bouts with, it started with alcohol, then weed, then meth, then heroin, then pills. So I've just always, and I would usually use like 3 to 4 substances at a time on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That was just how I operated.
Yeah.
So I just spent a lot of years doing that. And then I started to cycle in and out of programs as well.
Oh, I see.
Because I knew, like always, there was something deep-seated inside me that told me that I was worth more and that I was capable of more and I deserved more for my life.
I see.
But it's like, I had this stronghold in my life as well that would just bring me back to using every time. So it's like I knew inside this wasn't the life I was meant to live, but I had this stronghold on top of me in my mind that I couldn't break.
I see.
So, but all the time I was going to programs, I knew like more seeds were getting planted in me, and they just eventually grew into me wanting to live a life where I was clean and sober.
Right. That's awesome. I mean, I could definitely relate a lot to that. Well, I never checked myself in. I was always mandated, it's probation. They want that. But I felt like I got a little bit of something every time I went to treatment, even though like I wasn't ready, But,
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I didn't ever check myself in either. I would use it as a get out of jail free card.
Right.
I knew like, okay, either you can do jail or go to treatment,
Right.
or I would just start to be like, just using it as a loophole.
Right. I actually kind of preferred jail, to be honest, but I was dumb though, I just was like, oh fuck, I don't, because I went to behavior mods, and that I didn't know anything about rehab or anything about treatment. And I think I partied with a girl from Del Mar, and she was telling me about like I can't remember the name of the program, but it was like, it sounded very luxurious, and they were like, do yoga and like fucking,
Nice.
eat steaks and shit for dinner. And I was like, oh, that's rehab. Like, oh fuck, that don't sound bad at all. And then I went to House of Metamorphosis,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm like, oh, this is not what that homegirl was talking about. Like, I'm in the hood. Like this, I'm watching Cars all fucking day on Fridays and Saturdays.
Right.
Like, what the fuck? But anyways, yeah, I mean, I was resistant, for sure. But when I went into, the Freedom Ranch, I broke down. I just was like, I can't do this anymore.
That's good.
And it was fast. Like, I lived a fast life, just like you. It was like every day had to be something. Every day had to be a fucking like an extravagant, shit show story when I was in my addiction, and then fucking and then I'm always in and out. Like, there's no breaks, there's no nothing. And then I go to the Freedom Ranch, and it's like I've already done like almost 2 years in programs, and I'm about to do a term. It'll be my first one. And then I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, it'll never end. And then I'm gonna get, I'm an IV heroin addict too. I'm like, there's that chance I'm not gonna, make it. And it was already kind of starting to happen too, where some of the guys I was using with were dying, and I was talking about it with one of my buddies too, like one of my homeboys I used every day with, and I was really close with. He caught a real serious case, and he got 44 to life, and that was also like, oh my god, fuck, dude.
Right.
And he didn't even do anything, He was just there. He was just present during a crime, and they're like, "Well, you're part of it too, so bye." So that's stuff like that is what got me clean. And I was just curious, what did you feel like was like the final after being in and out of the system and out of treatment?
So it's interesting. So my husband, James.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah. We actually met back in my, late teenage years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You guys known each other that long?
Yeah. So he was actually friends with my dad.
Oh.
So that's how we initially met. And, he was dealing drugs back then too, right around the same time. So we kind of were dating a little bit back then, and then we just stayed friends throughout the years.
Yeah.
And we would hook up not on and off together and everything. And so this last term I did, he did a term at the same time.
Yeah.
And we ended up at this place called CTC, Community Transition Center. And it's down in Old Town.
Yeah.
So we were there for a minute together, waiting to get where they send you to programs. Like, it was this new, I forgot what it was. I don't know if it was I think it was AB 109, where anytime you got discharged from prison, you had to go to this community transition center, and they would check you in and say, like, do you have a place to live, or what's going on? They would analyze you and see whether they're going to mandate a program on you or not. So we're both in this place together, and we decided that we were going to give things a shot. And so he got sent to Crash. He got sent to Crash, which I'm a Crash graduate too. And then I was hoping, I was like, I want a women's program. Yeah. Because I had never done co-ed. And they ended up sending me to, God, what is that one down? I can't even, VOA. They sent me to VOA.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, they sent me to VOA. And this is back when it was a detox. And
I remember.
Yeah, this was back when it was a detox. And then they had a short-term program there too. But they there was just a lot of convicts there, because they had some kind of convict program there at the time. And I was just like.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh, parolees.
Yeah, I knew. I'm like, God, this is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I know. I've been
recipe for disaster. Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to be in here with, 150 men, 8 women.
Oh,
and
yeah, you know how that goes.
Yeah, I'm like, and a bunch of convicts. This is just bad news.
It's already,
So I went in there. I did good for about 2 months, and then there was like this one little clique of convict dudes that were like so cool. Like they were like
Oh,
homeboys, and we're
almost.
you
Oh, yeah.
know we started like playing like 10,000 and dominoes and this and that. So it was just like I was more in my element with these people, and we were hanging out. And then next thing we know, they start popping. They're popping subs. They're popping LSD,
Ooh.
and like you know.
Yeah.
So then I did both of those things a couple times.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I'm still cool. I'm gonna test clean, you know,
Oh,
because
sure.
back then you couldn't. I don't know if you can test dirty on subs. I don't know. But
Now they test for it.
okay, back
Yeah,
then.
back then, no, fuck no.
they
That's why I
weren't.
did it too.
Yeah.
I
Back
know
then,
that
and
loophole.
you can't test for LSD too. So.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no.
Probably nowadays, like if you request it.
If you request it, yeah, I don't know, but back then you couldn't test
Yeah.
for it either, so I was cool. And then
Shit.
I thought I was skating by just fine, and then somebody comes in from the detox, and they brought whatever, a couple ounces of meth, and I'm like, I am not gonna do meth. I'm not gonna do meth. So
Yeah.
I held strong for like 3 days, and then finally double scrub day hit. Double scrub day hit, and everyone's just tweaking and cleaning.
Oh yeah.
And that just got to me. I was like, man, you guys suck, you know? So then finally I went to, one of the homeboys, and I was like, where's it at?
Yeah,
Like, I'm breaking it down.
Yeah.
There was nothing left.
Oh.
He's all, I only have this empty bindle left. So I was like, okay, cool. I was like, shoot it. So literally I licked the empty bindle. Good little bindle licker.
Yes, dude.
And I was on a sick one off
Really?
just licking the bindle.
Wow. Well, yeah, no tolerance.
Yeah. And then, so they tested the whole house right then. And I popped dirty, and they were like, okay, your PO is going to come get you within 24 hours.
Oh,
and I
man.
looked at them, and I was like, you know what? I have affairs I need to go get into order. So I just bounced.
Oh.
So I
Important
bounced.
affairs, huh?
Yeah, important affairs. So I went and bounced out, and of course my affairs never really got in order. I don't know what I thought I needed to handle. But I was on a sick one for probably 2 to 3 months. And this whole time James is in crash. And, he's side tripping, calling me like from the Social Security office. He's like, yeah, I'm here. And I would fly down from North County, just loaded out of my mind on everything.
Wow.
And I'd come, pick him up,
Yeah.
he'd side trip for a second. We'd hang out, and then I'd go back to North County. So I was doing this all the time. And then it really started to get out of control, because like I went and met him a couple times, and I had like pipes on my laps and paraphernalia in the car. And I just started to like get way out of my mind. And like, I don't even know how I was driving. I would literally drive from North County, like the res up.
Shit.
Like it takes an hour and a half normal time. I would be there in a half hour. Like I don't even know what I was doing.
God damn.
And just out of my mind. And it got to a place where I felt like me and James have always been really connected.
Yeah.
And I knew, I'm like, I'm going to lose this guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose this guy if I don't do something,
Because he's already trying to get it together.
Yeah, he's trying to get it together. And he had a 1-year-old at that time that was, in the system, that he had done jail time, and he was fighting to get her back. She was CPS involved. So I was like, okay, I need to do something about this. So I made a decision that I was going to go turn myself in, which was like the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
Like I've always been trained mentally,
Right.
like,
Run.
Screw the cops.
Yeah.
Don't stop for nothing.
Yeah.
All this, that had been ingrained in me since a youth.
Till the wheels fall out.
Yeah. I was going against all that. And so I called my sister to go check me in. We're parked in Las Colinas parking lot. And I had never smoked meth in front of my sister, but I was in the back seat of her car, so scared to get out that I was just like smoking weed, smoking meth, smoking weed, smoking meth, and for like 4 to 5 hours, right in front of the Las Colinas parking lot. And my sister's like, "You have to get the hell out of my car."
Wow.
Like she was just like, "I'm done with you. Like get out of the car."
Wow.
So I was like, "Okay." And so I jumped out of the car and I just jet for the bushes. I just ran.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty bad. So long story short was I walked the streets of Santee and El Cajon for 3 days straight.
Wow.
Until I was so tired and so just done. Like I wouldn't call anybody I knew. I didn't have my car, and I wouldn't call anybody I knew to come get me, because I was just like, I'll be off and running again. So I literally just had to walk it out of me. I lost 10 pounds in 3 days.
Wow.
Because I just literally walked for 3 days. And then finally I just went and I collapsed at jail.
Oh, fuck.
And went and did my time. I maxed out my MSO case I was on. So I think I did like 90 days. And that was the first time that I was ever incarcerated that I decided to do something different. Like normally I'm just like, you know, in my little tank or pod or yard, and you know, like I'm the key holder or the little, you know,
important person.
Yeah, what, you know, and it's just like I had this rapport in there that everybody knew me, or most people did, and I was respected. And this time I was like, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have anything to do with like
stay out of the mix.
Yeah, I didn't want drugs coming in and hitting my hands. I didn't want any of that. So I decided that I was going to apply for trustees.
Oh, wow.
It was a crazy just mental shift for me.
Absolutely.
Because before I was like, you know, anytime I was incarcerated, I would like, I'm like, the trustees work for the cops, and like blah, 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 you know, so.
I did not sign up for that either.
Yeah. So I signed up for trustees, and it was great. It was great. Yeah, I loved it, hands down. It wasn't working. You know, whatever, the cops are cooler with you over there, but like you're not working for the cops themselves. You're working for the facility. And like I got a lot of privileges where I was like able to walk the yard all day long, and able to like do Zumba videos, which was my jam.
Oh,
it was
nice.
like workout in there.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just got like all kinds of little perks in there. So it was just a good way for me to like exercise during custody and not focus. There wasn't drug flow in there too. So I was just like focused on, you know, what I wanted to do
instead of staying like in general pop. It is like in the bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel
exactly.
I feel you.
Yeah.
And so is that when you got clean then, like that?
So that was when I cleaned up, and it's interesting too because I was in there with this girl. That was my close friend in there, and she's new to recovery now, and she just asked me to sponsor her. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah.
Oh, wow, what a trip.
Yeah, it's always cool when we can, you know, come from that into where we are now, you know, and make a difference. But so I decided to get clean then, and when I got out, I went into a sober living with James. So
really? Same sober living?
Yeah. So he had found it was a co-ed sober living. But we had already come to the decision that we were going to get married.
Oh, okay.
So this was just something, you know, we'd just known each other for years. And I told him, I was like, I don't really want to be living out of wedlock with somebody and sleeping with somebody out of wedlock. So we already kind of knew that we had wanted to get married.
Yeah.
So the night I got released from Las Colinas, we actually went and eloped on Sunset Cliffs at like 2 a.m. in the morning. Wow. So we went and just like, you know, performed our vows ourselves. Oh, okay. Like alone with nobody there.
Yeah, like a private ceremony.
Yeah, like
I love that actually.
Yeah, we went and just eloped on Sunset Cliffs on the rocks, and he put a ring on my finger. And then so we were able to move into the sober living as a couple because we were married. Yeah. And soon he got his daughter back. Wow. She was 18 months old when we got her back. Yeah. And so we were in that little sober living together, and then we made a date at the courthouse and got married officially at the courthouse. Yeah. And my early recovery was super, super rocky. Really? Yeah, I had been on psych meds for a long time. Oh, yeah. So just for, you know, I've had bouts of depression, always had anxiety, and I even had a pretty bad bout of schizophrenia after something traumatic I endured. It just put me in a state of schizophrenia for about a year, where I was hearing voices like all the time. Yeah. Little girls crying, screaming. Yeah. So I just had struggles with mental health. So I had been on medication for years, and I made a decision in early recovery that I was going to get off my medication.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So I'm not exactly sure what made me think that or do that. It was just something that I decided to do without a doctor's recommendation or anything.
I did something similar to that.
Yeah.
So it was the freedom ranchers, nah, you're not allowed to take psychiatric meds.
Uh-huh.
So I was on meds when I was in jail. I had
Mm-hmm.
to wean myself off of it, and it was not fun.
Yeah.
It was hard. I didn't sleep for a while.
Yeah. Not fun at all.
No.
Yeah.
So you just did this on the streets?
Yeah, I did it on the streets. Well, so I felt like that my med cocktail I was on was kind of prescribed by me. Like, you know, I know that the antidepressant I was on helped me.
Yeah.
But then I also, too, had prescribe me Topamax,
Oh, okay.
which that was like common in girls in jail, that if you could get Topamax, that was awesome because it kept you skinnier.
Oh,
And
God.
then Boost Bar was another
Yeah.
one
Boost
that
bars, yeah.
people love to take because it was like a, you know, non-narcotic Xanax. So I just had this cocktail that I kind of thought that I had designed to an extent that I had been on for years because it was just like by popular demand in jail. Or if
yeah.
you could get that, that's like the best stuff you could be
It's
on
almost like money.
besides Librium or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just didn't really know if I needed it, you know? So first before I got off the medication, I did have a hiccup in early recovery. So the day after Trump got elected for his first term.
The first term, 2016.
Yep, 2016, 11/10/2016.
Is that your clean date?
Yep, it's my clean date.
Oh, shit.
But on the 9th, the day before that, when Trump was elected, weed was legalized.
Oh, yeah.
I was working at this telemarketing place in Old Town, and MBR was the name of it. And, you know, there was certain employees there that dabbled in whatever they did. And this one guy I knew, like, he smoked a lot of chronic. And he always, like, would go take his breaks, and he'd come in just smelling so good.
Yeah.
And so I just had this like running thought. The addict in my head was like, yeah, you know, Trump got elected and weed's legal. Like, you know, this isn't even, you know, it's just like alcohol. It's like weed's legal now. Like, this is okay for me to do, you know? So that's just, and I only had maybe about 90 days clean.
Okay.
So then I went and smoked weed. And then I came home to my husband and did the sober living. Yeah. And I was just blazed out of my mind. And then I just told him right away, I'm like, yeah, I'm blazed out. And he was like, and I had only smoked one bowl. Okay, but
that's all it takes.
Yeah, I was gone. And he just looked at me and he was like, what are you doing? Wow. He's just like, I just got my daughter back. Yeah. We're living in this house together, this sober living. He goes, CPS knows you now. If you test dirty, they will take my child. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. You know, and I had already lost 2 children myself to CPS. You know, my first one was for drugs and one was for domestic violence. I see. You know, and so I already knew what that pain and suffering had been, and he had already been without his daughter for the first, you know, year of her life. Yeah. So I was just like, that's when I just had an aha moment and it hit me, and I was just like, you know, what am I doing? And part of me kind of thought that because I've known him so long, like I know his get down, and I didn't think he would care for some reason.
Yeah, he's a very like chill.
Yeah.
Like,
but I didn't think he would care that I smoked weed for some reason. I just thought that maybe maybe we were living a facade and we were going to use someday later on when the man was off our back, or I don't know what I was thinking.
No, I can see that too.
You know? So then that was when I was like, oh my God, okay, this is serious. Like we're doing this for real. Like no weed, no alcohol, you know, cause that had always taken me out before.
That is interesting though, that, you know, it was just a little bit of weed. You could see like the damage and the harm that you caused somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was crazy too. Like it was by the grace of God, I did not get tested because it was crazy because I was going to the head shops and I was buying those drug drinks. Yeah. The cleanses. Yeah. I would take a cleanse and then I would pee test myself dirty. I tested dirty for 4 months off one bowl.
Wow. God damn.
Yeah.
That's some strong shit.
Yeah. It was crazy. And I was taking those drug drinks and niacin and like everything to clean myself.
Not get out.
It would not get out.
Oh, fuck.
But it was crazy because I didn't get tested for 4 months, and I was on 5 types of supervision.
Wow.
I was on misdemeanor probation, felony probation, MSO, AB 109, and parole. Yep.
Well, you know, parole don't care about weed.
Yeah, it was wild.
Fuck, man. Wow. So just there was a time period where it just didn't happen. No tests or nothing.
No tests, no nothing. And then gradually, you know, I just made a decision to turn my will and my life over to God, is what I did. And I surrendered, and I threw myself in the middle of a herd, a group of strong women, and it was extremely uncomfortable for me.
Oh, sure.
Extremely uncomfortable. I was very institutionalized. I was very hard.
Yeah.
And I threw myself, I actually joined Dollface Club back then in early recovery, and it was just very uncomfortable for me. It was
Oh, really? You didn't like it at first?
No. I didn't. No, it's not that I didn't like Dollface Club. I didn't like anything.
Sure.
It was all uncomfortable for me. Yeah. I would, I would just sit in the corner. I was just institutionalized.
Yeah.
I would sit in the corner and just analyze and judge people.
Yeah.
You know, and like how I was different. It's common when you're, to point out the differences and not the similarities.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's just what I would do. And, but the girls, especially, so Sage was the one that really pulled me in hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, her and my husband were friends years ago.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So when I was getting out, my husband told her, like, hey, I want you to help bring my wife into the fold. So, and then, that's awesome. I got Amber Lee was the first event I did was at Amber Lee's house. And, I just got to know the girls, and everybody was really kind and loving and sweet and welcoming to me. So eventually, like, my hard layers started to shed off. And I've always loved to be of service. So being of service, like in early recovery, like getting out there and making a difference, like going and doing vision boards with the youth, or going and, feeding the homeless. That's always been like right up my alley. Yeah. I like doing good things to help people. It just makes my heart sing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I love that about the Dollface Club. You guys do a lot of that service stuff, helping the community and stuff.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, man, Sal, you've been clean for 8 years?
Yep, 8.5 years.
It's fucking amazing. Can I give you an applause?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And, and I just want to touch up a little bit. You built like such a, like an amazing life too. Mm-hmm. You have like a pretty great career. Mm-hmm. How did that start?
So I feel like it started in my childhood. Yeah. Because even though I was going through abuse, other things of that nature, I was always told that I could do anything I set my mind to. That was what my mom and my grandma always told me, that I'm capable of anything. I can do anything I set my mind to. And then when I met my father later on, he started to tell me, well, sky's the limit. That was his motto. Sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. Oh, nice. So, I just feel like all that was instilled in me as a youth. And I just have an insatiable drive. I really do.
Obviously.
I have a lot of drive, and I believe in myself. And so basically in early recovery, first I obviously quit that job at the telemarketing place after I relapsed. And then I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? So I went and applied at one restaurant, and I didn't get, I went for the job interview, and I didn't get hired. And that was devastating for me, because I've always gotten hired at every single job I've ever gone into.
Yeah, and that was the one.
And I didn't get hired there. So I was like, just in my head, I was like, God, is it because, I'm getting older now, or because I have so many felonies, or, because I've been out of it? Like, what's the reason? Like, I really kicked myself hard on it. And it was ultimately because God had another plan for me.
I see.
Because the next place I went and applied at was a restaurant around the way. And I went and applied there, and I got hired. And from the moment I was at this job, I just worked hard. I excelled. I gave it my all. I was phenomenal with customers, phenomenal with coworkers, just everything. Always, just being impeccable in everything I do and being my best. Yeah. And, I believe too that you should always, behave in integrity and do the best when nobody's looking. I don't do the best I can all the time because people are watching me or I want them to tell me, hey, you're doing a great job. I do the best because I know that, it honors my Father in heaven.
I see.
So I quickly excelled at that job. I started off as a server, and I was soon promoted to management. And then I got promoted to general manager.
Wow, yeah.
And then I had another job as well at another restaurant too that actually me, Klea, and Amber Lee worked there together.
Oh, okay.
And I got promoted to management over there as well. And just was continuing to excel, save up money. I had a goal that I wanted to purchase a home. So,
Yeah.
and I know, me and James wanted to purchase a home. So basically I hustled really hard
I see.
for my first few years in recovery. I'm still hustling hard, but I
Yeah, of
hustled
course.
hard with the goal and the mindset that I wanted to purchase a home.
Yeah.
So,
In San Diego, that ain't easy.
yeah. So I just kept saving.
Yeah.
And then me and James bought our first home coming up on 3 years ago now.
Nice.
Yeah, so we have a beautiful home
Yeah. So again,
out in East County.
East County.
Yeah. So I didn't know how I was going to be out in East County when I first went out
Yeah.
there. Because we've always been beach people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because he's from Encinitas.
Yeah, he's from Encinitas, and I, was in Encinitas my teenage years, and then we were living in, Claremont, Pacific Beach before that. And I remember when we went out, we were looking at, because we decided we're going to move all of our stuff from our house we were renting. We were going to move it into a storage unit out in East County and just house hunt. So
Yeah.
that was like what we did. And I remember going out there to the storage unit, and I remember pulling up outside, and we were parked in front of this preschool, nursery school, and there was like little kids running around with mullets. I was like, oh my God, like, where am I moving? What is going on here?
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know how I'd acclimate, but I love it out there.
Yeah.
It's
fuck
awesome.
Yeah. I know you guys fit right in.
Great recovery out there too.
Yeah.
Great recovery.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess I was just a little curious. When did you start getting into Christianity?
So I've believed in Jesus since I was about 19. I believed in him. I was raised in religion, or I was raised in Christianity, but when I was probably around age 9 to 13, I really turned away from Christianity. And
Okay.
I went through a phase where, I was into Wicca.
Oh.
I was into, meditating
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah.
astral projection and
Oh,
all
so-
kinds of, other things, and just
Yeah.
exploring like what I thought, religion was to
Right.
me, because I had, I kind of I ended up distancing myself from Christ at that time because I was going through so much trauma and abuse in my life
Right.
that
It
I
didn't
didn't.
resonate.
Yeah, I would pray to God, like asking him, like, please take me out of this, and my prayers weren't getting answered, so it made me start to develop like a disbelief, and so that kind of transcended. So I actually had a heroin overdose when I was 15.
Yeah.
And during that time, I had a full out-of-body experience. So I overdosed, and I just remember I was rising up and staring down at my body. And I just saw this little girl. I was a little girl
Yeah,
when
right.
I was 15.
Of course you were.
And I had a needle hanging out of my arm, and I was just in this, it was a crack house in San Francisco.
Fuck.
And I just remember looking at myself and going, that's so sad. That's so sad. And I just felt all this pain for myself. And then once I hit the ceiling, I couldn't see the earth anymore. I was in a different realm, I guess you could say. And all I remember was seeing thousands of little lights for as far as I could see. They were just lights everywhere, almost looking like stars. And and I knew that I was a light as well. And we were all rising up. It's just a bunch of lights rising up. And I remember that during that time that every single question I had ever wanted to know was like instantaneously answered. So I was like running through questions in my head, like, you know, why was I raped? Why was I, you know, why did my grandma die? Why did this? Why did that? Like everything that had happened to me that was like traumatic or sad or that I didn't understand, I was asking those questions. And instantaneously, they were all being revealed to me and answered in my own like being, you know, and everything made sense. And I knew that ultimately, by God's design, that everything happened for a reason.
Yeah.
So whatever trauma we go through, you know, we may not see what's going on at that current moment, but God is turning that and using it for his good. You know, we go through these things for a reason. We're being strengthened and molded for a higher purpose that we really can't see. So after I experienced all that, I actually shot down into my body again. And I remember the best way I can describe going back into my body was that I felt I breathed my soul back in. So I took a breath and I gradually got feeling from my mouth all the way down to my toes. And I had been dead for 4 minutes there too. Wow. So it was four, I don't know what 4 means for me, but the two death experiences I've had, I was in a mini coma for 4 days. Yeah. That was after this. And then this, I was dead for 4 minutes. Wow. So, and I woke up in a bathtub full of ice. Wow. So. Oh God. Yeah. So that was where I started to have a concept like that there is a God and that there is a higher purpose. And all of that just was deep seated in my heart. I see. From back then. But it didn't take, you know, I've been with Christ through my recovery period, but it was kind of like my forefront and my focus in my life was career based. You know, it was career. I was career and money driven. Okay. And at the same point in time, you know, I would balance other parts of my life, like my family, NA, you know, Dollface Club, going to the gym. Like I would balance other areas, but my main focus was my career. Yeah. Absolutely. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I decided that I didn't want my career to be my main focus. I wanted it to be on, you know, God and Jesus and my family. I see. So I kind of had a shift and then a full shift at the beginning of this year. So at the beginning of this year, I had a conversation with my boss, which now I'm in the position where I'm district manager over my restaurants. Yeah. Yeah. So I operate 2 restaurants simultaneously. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. I can imagine. Yeah. So, you know, and I've been in that position about 2.5 years. I see. So at first it was a big learning curve for me and a big struggle because I operate them basically as the owner. Yeah. You know, I operate them as the owner. Yeah. Except I just don't. I just say what bills need to be paid. I don't pay them myself. Right. It's like the only difference. Right. Exactly. You know? It's not coming out of your pocket. Yeah. So I told my boss. I sat my boss down at the beginning of this year, and I had a conversation with her. And this was after, in the beginning of the year, I went through a period where I fasted. Yeah. I fasted and prayed for about a week. I fasted, just asking like, God, what's your will for me this year? Yeah. What is your, you know, what would you have me do? And I kind of came to this mindset that I need to be putting God first, my family after that, and then my career. Like I need a realignment. So I sat down my boss and I told her this. I said, I've been putting, you know, this company first for a minute now. And I said, I'm not doing that anymore. I see. I said, God and my family are coming first this year. And so and she was totally acceptant and was like, okay, great. Like I support you. And doing that, there was a shift that occurred in my life, major shift. And at the same point in time, it was put heavy on my heart to join a business apprenticeship through my church. Okay. So I've been in that business apprenticeship since the early beginning of this year. And that has just been so transformative. You know, I attend, it's called Pathfinders. Oh, okay. And it's through Awaken Church. And I see. Just the way that this apprenticeship has broken off mindsets that I used to have and just, you know, I used to live in a constant state of worry, fear, and anxiety. Sure, yeah. And I've gotten that, you know, broken off me from my relationship with Jesus Christ and doing altar calls And, just the way that this apprenticeship has broken my mindsets and just basically taught me new principles just about like, building the kingdom of God and, doing it through prosperity. Because you really look at people and people that don't have wealth typically don't have much influence. Yeah. So the concept of this is to wealth build for the kingdom, the kingdom of God, and also so we have more influence and, taking territory. So those have just really been like a shift in my mind and my focus on like what I have planned for my future and what road I'm on. And I wanted to do it to position my heart right too with the nonprofit right now.
Yes.
Just making sure that I'm completely like in alignment with God's will for my life, that his blessings are over this nonprofit and this venture we're taking. My partners are Sage Robinson and Klea Melville.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was about to ask that too.
Yeah.
You got it started. What got you started with Nobody Plans on Dying?
So Nobody Plans on Dying became a nonprofit about 2 years ago.
Okay.
So Klea had first. So me, Klea, and Sage have always worked extremely well together. We're all very dominant females, but we balance each other out and we feed off of each other's drive. It's really this cool like energy flow we have going.
Yeah.
So me and Sage have predominantly been in charge of event planning and doing events, like any kind of fundraisers we've had, you know, whether it's been for the community. Like one time we raised a bunch of money for this random woman that had brain cancer that was panhandling.
I see.
We raised money for her to get an apartment. So
nice.
Anytime we've had like community fundraising efforts, me and Sage have pretty much been the masterminds behind that and event planning and coordinating everything. So that's where the energy developed. And obviously Klea has always been like the creative mind behind things. And all of us are very God breathed and very focused on God's will for our life and what that is. So Klea came up with the idea to start Nobody Plans on Dying, and it initially started with wanting to do our first documentary.
Yeah.
So, and she just wanted to honor families that have lost loved ones and to break the stigma around addiction.
Right, absolutely.
So she came up with that idea, and then first she asked Sage on board, and then she asked me on board.
I see.
And the three of us formed a partnership.
Ah.
Yeah.
And that was 2 years ago?
It was actually a little bit before 2 years ago, probably, because with the documentary and the asking, but then it took me a minute because I took educational courses. I went to school to figure out how to do our own paperwork for the nonprofit, because I applied for our 501c3. I did all the application processes and tax filing and everything to make us a legit 501c3 corporation.
Oh, wow.
So I had to kind of get my education and figure out everything and make sure I was crossing my T's and dotting my I's.
Right. Yeah. Cover your ass.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the documentary took a little bit of time to finish and all that.
Yep. It took more time than anticipated. You know, the first year there was something going on in one of our personal lives.
I see.
That made us have to hit the brakes on the documentary for a minute until things worked themselves out.
Yeah.
And then once the brakes got hit, then it was the production company kind of was dragging their feet after that for a while.
Right.
So we were anticipating it to be done a year ago, but editing took that long.
Wow.
And we kept shooting it back and forth. So it was a long process, but definitely a learning experience.
Yeah.
You know, we're a lot more familiarized with what we want for next time. You know, going into a contract, we definitely want to make sure that we are making a timeline, because this contract didn't have a timeline. So it's just been a learning experience. And then definitely the next one, we want Klea to direct.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because you guys plan on doing a couple more.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's the plan. But I think, you know, Klea is just such a powerful creative that I think with her directing and you know, making it the way she wants, I think it'll be a lot more of a pleasing product for all of us.
For sure. Wow.
So.
And I guess just is there like a little summary of what to expect from this documentary?
So the documentary basically it intros with a creative piece, and then we go into various interviews by public figures,
I see.
and professionals
I see.
in the industry, and just talking about the fentanyl epidemic and what's going on.
Yeah,
And then it ends with a story about a local teen
I see.
that had overdosed a couple years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So Jesse Salgado, and he was actually working with Klea. He used to work with her on Dollface
Oh, really?
Club. Yep. He did an art drop for her. He was an artist.
Oh, I see.
So that's how the initial relationship had started.
I see.
And then he overdosed, and
Wow.
we wanted to honor his family and honor his story, and
I see.
just bring light to what's going on, the tragedy that's
Absolutely.
striking our communities.
It's so sad how many stories are out there about like you know, there's like two sides of it, and one I wasn't really familiar with. The one I was familiar with was that, you know, fentanyl was in the heroin, and then somehow heroin just came out of the picture and fentanyl's on the streets. And, you know, my friends on heroin got on fentanyl.
Yep.
And it's all you hear about, and then they're just dropping like flies because there's no like proper way to know what can kill you and what can't.
Exactly.
And it, you know, it was like every week somebody be dead, and I lost 3 friends in 1 month, including my best friend.
Yeah.
And then when I started doing fentanyl, I guess I found out more about, like, you know, teenagers that had no intentions of doing opiates or hard drugs. They're just, you know, they're just partying, like, and experimenting, and then they get a pill that's laced with it because they think it's a Xanax, or they think it's something else, or even like whatever little cocaine, but they didn't know that they had Fetty, you know. So it's really hard, you know, to hear those stories, you know, especially when it's like really young, you know. I go to a few of those awareness events, you know, and it's like parents and like other members of the community, you know, highlighting it, and it's really heartbreaking, but I feel like it has to be said, you know, and it has to be heard, and has to be seen.
Yep, most definitely. Yeah. So our nonprofit, I mean, right now we're highlighting the fentanyl epidemic, but our mission is not fentanyl.
Right.
Our mission is overdose awareness.
Overdose, yes.
Yeah, because, you know, ultimately the fentanyl rates have already dropped right now.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, they've dropped since Trump's been in office. Yeah. And, you know, I've heard from valuable sources that now they are starting to drop other drugs that are more advanced than fentanyl.
Really?
They're not testable because, you know, think from a cartel mindset. You know,
Right.
If we're onto fentanyl and there's such an awareness around fentanyl and everything,
and
they're going to do what they can to advance that, get around that, and hook more people.
Yeah.
So, you know, ultimately we want to, you know, if another drug hits the streets, God forbid, we want to create awareness around that too, because we all know that, you know, drugs and trends go in histories.
All the time.
Yeah.
It always evolves.
Yeah, so it's about creating that awareness. It's not just about a documentary. So we're creating that awareness amongst the youth. Our nonprofit mission is to educate the youth. Yeah. So we do go into schools. And we do presentations in schools. And you know, it's interesting because the last one we did was at it was a special ed class in a middle school, and you know, the kids just open up to us so much.
Really?
They'll just sit there. It's not like your normal presentation where we're just up there and we're talking and telling them, don't do drugs. It's not like that at all. We're asking them questions. We're engaging with them. And we're finding out, like, what are some of the root causes that could cause addiction potential in their lives.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, it's about getting them and providing them resources, you know, to help them get out of the situations they're in, or find out that there's other support and help. They don't need to feel alone. They can feel, you know, like they have a future and a hope.
Yeah, you're right. It all, you know, if you listen to even a few of these episodes, you'll know it all starts from childhood.
Yep.
It always starts like when people are in school, and there's just something that happened, and then it just never resolved it, and then it just carries on, and then it just grows and grows and grows
Yes.
until it's too late. But that's amazing. I love the outreach that you're trying to do with it. Didn't you do one here in South Bay?
Yes.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, we did one in South Bay.
That's cool. How did that go?
Good. We like to, predominantly we like to serve the underserved population. So any potential school that can be very gang ridden or have a lot of drug use there already. Those are schools we like to highlight because we feel like we could be most influential and impactful there.
I can give you some references.
Yeah.
Oh God. But that's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
That's so amazing. Yeah, I'm very excited for the documentary and see where Nobody Plans on Dying goes. You know what I mean?
I'm excited too.
That's really awesome. And again, I really love and appreciate you. I think you're awesome. I love James too.
Thank you.
I mean, you guys, like, I really look up to you guys. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
You guys are just really like cool people that I think are really about it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Try to be.
Yeah. It's work. It's work. And yeah, again, I really appreciate you, and I wish the best of luck with you and Nobody Plans on Dying.
Yes. Same with you as well.
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate it. I'll see you next week too.
All right, yeah, for sure.
I'll be there at 12 o'clock.
Awesome.
Hell yeah. All right. Goodbye, everybody.